Separating ourselves from destructive people is not unloving. Separating ourselves protects love because we're taking a stand against things that destroy love. With this wonderful quote, I welcome you to today's edition of the program, Leading Women. My name is Toyin Adepoju. My guest on Leading Women today is a trauma and emotional recovery coach. She helps women get unstuck and fulfill potential. She is Simi Waters. Simi is based in the United States of America and she is a life coach. She shared with me how women can get away from abusive marriage. And she also shared with me how it was like to be in an abusive marriage. Why don't you sit down and relax and enjoy my conversation with Simi Waters.
All right, great to have you on the program, Leading Women, Simi Waters. And my first question goes this way. What does it actually mean being an emotional recovery coach? What does it really involve?
Coaching is kind of a new term. You've probably seen it in the last 20 years or so that the term has become more popular. And what coaching is, just in and of itself in any area, is really teaching life skills to people that they may not have received in their educational arena, like university, or in the family arena. Now, emotional recovery coaching is specifically teaching emotional skills that people don't receive in their families. So a lot of us grow up families where there was not a lot of emotional awareness. And so we grow up literally without any education about our emotions and our emotional health, and how that impacts everything we do. I specifically focus on people who've been through some kind of trauma. So that's why there's the word recovery in there, which is, most people may not have a lot of emotional awareness, but if you have not been through trauma, you can function basically at the average level in life, and then you can kind of build from there. For people who have experienced trauma, whether it was sexual abuse, emotional abuse and neglect, physical abuse, and there's other kinds of trauma. Natural disasters are also trauma. If they've been in a war zone or in a place where there was a lot of violence, if they were impacted by violence, that can cause PTSD or complex PTSD. All of that trauma creates another level of emotional coaching that is needed. That's what I do.
Now, how did you get here? Because reading through your profile, while you were in Nigeria, you studied something on engineering. And then...
Yes.
So how did you get there?
So I studied chemical engineering because my dad had picked out everybody's career. He wanted one doctor, one lawyer, one architect, one engineer. So I fell into the engineer category.
Okay.
And so that's what I studied. When I left school, I moved into IT.
Okay.
And so I worked in IT for many years. After my divorce, so my marriage fell apart, and my ex-husband wanted a divorce, and in a sense that was fine by me because there was a lot in the marriage. So I went through my process of recovery. So I didn't really start out wanting to be a coach. I was more wanting to actually be a minister, a biblical minister. That was kind of like my direction.
Okay.
If I was going to do something different from engineering or
like
IT.
a pastor or something.
Yeah, something like that. Bible teacher.
Okay.
I do have a gift for teaching.
Okay.
But when I went through my own recovery and I realized how much of an emotional education I did not have, how many emotional skills I didn't have good boundaries, I didn't have good self-protection. There was just so much I didn't know. So over a period of about 3 years, I read everything, studied everything, and decided, you know what? People need this. I even need this on an ongoing basis. So I went through a certification program with the International Association of Trauma Recovery Coaches. I created a portfolio, got certified, and then I began practicing.
Well, we're going to take a trip into your growing up days. Your profile reads that as a child, I witnessed domestic abuse and experienced long periods of abandonment and neglect due to family chaos and dysfunction. How did all this make you feel as a child?
It's interesting to go back and revisit those emotions. Many of us, if you've been through trauma, emotional neglect, a large amount of family dysfunction, you'll find out that there'll be periods of your life where you don't remember anything. So actually, a healthy, normal adult can have memories as far back as age 1 or 2. But if you've been through trauma or significant chronic dysfunction, you'll find out that maybe your memories probably start somewhere around age 4, 5, or 6. So a lot of my memories actually start from right around age 5. I think I only have one memory maybe from age 4. But the ones that I do have, my parents divorced when I was, they separated when I was 5 or 6 was when they separated. And there was this incident that caused, the separation was domestic abuse. And I remember the incident, I remember the day. It was sort of like you're going along and everything's fine, at least to me. As a child at that time, it seemed like everything in my house was fine. Now, of course, my older siblings had other memories of other things that had happened. And suddenly there was like this volcano that went off in my house. And it was just really, really bad. And if I was to think back to the feelings, I think I just felt, you could say terror. I just felt really, really afraid. And when you go through something like that and you feel that kind of emotion, that kind of heightened emotion, it actually imprints your brain. You can't really forget it. It'll come back. You'll have flashbacks over the years. So over the years, I always remember that. And then my dad remarried, and their relationship was also physically abusive on both sides. It was really messed up. So all of those things just kind of created, you get this feeling that the world is unsafe. And it's just a feeling that if you've been through that kind of thing, the way you experience the world, not logically. So your logical mind, if somebody said, oh, is the world safe? You'd be like, yeah, the world is safe. But the way you respond, the way you feel about things is more like the world is not safe. So I definitely experienced a lot of anxiety. And then, of course, when I went through the teenage years, all the teenage hormones, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. And the anxiety, more so than the depression, stayed with me through adulthood. Of course, when parents separate, the family becomes very fragmented. And children can kind of get lost in the shuffle. So, of course, there were times when I was being watched by a friend, being watched by a nanny, being watched by, a family member. And that's what creates the feeling of abandonment, where you feel like your relationships are not solid and people can go away and you don't even know when they're going to be back, or you're constantly having to recreate relationships over and over because you're moving around.
This actually affects you while you were growing up?
Yeah, I think it did. I would say throughout my grade school and secondary school years, it made me always feel like I didn't belong in the spaces that I was in. Like, I had friends, but it was always like, you just felt like you were 1 degree. I felt like I was 1 degree removed from whatever was happening in any space. Like, these are my friends, but they're all closer together than to me. And the interesting thing was, now that I talked to my friends after, they all to some degree felt the same thing. So really, a lot of this emotional recovery is actually a very universal thing, but we all feel like we're the only ones going through it because we don't have the words for it.
Yeah, sometimes we don't even understand what's happening to us at that particular moment,
Exactly.
We can't really express what we're actually passing through to anyone. Now,
Right. And this is where parents were supposed to. So if you have a parent who's emotionally aware, that's what parents are supposed to do for young kids. But of course, our parents grew up in an even greater emotional desert. So there was no way to expect them to have been able to do that for us.
Now, did it also affect your decision while choosing a mate?
So
this is taking you to your experience.
Yeah, so your childhood experience creates in you the expectation for your adult experience. Your relationship with your parents and your family relationships creates the pattern that you will tend to reproduce. No matter how hard you try not to reproduce it, you will probably reproduce some form of those relationships in your future relationships, in friendships, and in picking a spouse. So when I was looking at a spouse, I was like, well, I definitely don't want any physical abuse in my relationship. So say you can say physical abuse is on a scale of 10, right? So that's physical abuse is 10, and then a healthy, happy, wonderful, loving marriage is at 1, right? So I didn't realize that 1 existed because I'd never seen it. I just knew 10 was bad. So I moved to 8, and I thought 8 was wonderful. I don't know if that analogy helps. Really, what all of us should be looking for is 1. But when you never see one, when your family members, their marriages are all, weird, when you don't know what one looks like, you think 8 is the best you can get. You think 8 is wonderful. And so that's kind of what happened to me, where my marriage wasn't really physically abusive, although whenever my ex-husband got angry, he would always threaten it. And I was like, well, yeah, I really dare you to try it, because you'll be in jail before the end of the day. So, but there were ways of getting there. So in a sense, it was not physically abusive in the same way, but it was, there was still an abusive personality in the relationship. So an abusive personality can show up in many different ways. There's emotional abuse, you can have physical abuse, you can have financial abuse, psychological abuse. You can get into areas of looking at personality disorders, bipolar disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, sociopathy. All of those personalities or those traits can appear in a person, and then they manifest in many different ways. So sometimes you could have a pastor who has sociopathic tendencies, and they end up creating like a cult. So what happened to me was, because there was abuse in my childhood, I was attracted, or I was, in a sense, prepped to look for a pattern of abuse, even if it didn't manifest in exactly the same way.
Now, from your profile, you said you decided to take charge of your life after your marriage ended. That's your first marriage. How did that happen? Did you just wake up one day and walk out of the marriage?
Oh, no, things like that rarely happen. And so like with abuse victims, I know people just say, oh, you should just get up and walk out. Because this is an emotional affair, so we're emotional and biological beings. Really, the two things that motivate anything that anybody does is the feeling they want to have, or the feeling they want to avoid, or some kind of physical need: food, shelter, water. Those are our big motivators, unless we get to the level where you're thinking with your higher brain. So in my case, I actually started a form of recovery while I was still married, because I was like, well, okay, this is not okay, but I want to work on myself. And so I started working on myself. I started studying really what was going on in my marriage. I recognized the abusive behaviors. I was able to pinpoint certain things that my ex-husband was doing and actually attempt to work with him on them. So I insisted on counseling. And it helped, but very little. In fact, I think the counseling and being held accountable for his behavior made him even more angry and abusive. So he refused to get better because he didn't want to be held accountable, but I started to get better. So I started becoming better at setting boundaries. Okay. So for instance, one of the situations that made him extremely angry was there would be days that maybe I would be going to church. So he had stopped going to church for several years. So I'd be going to church, and he would get angry that I was going to church. And he wouldn't get physical, but then he would take my purse, take my car keys, take my wallet, so I couldn't call a cab to go to church. And so while that is not a physical act, that is actually an abusive act. Because you are literally holding the person hostage by removing their means of agency to exercise their ability to move around as an adult. So when that started happening, you would find different ways of being abusive like that, but ways of being abusive that you couldn't report to the police. And this is why people need to be very gentle and very careful what they say to abuse victims. Because abusers are very good at doing things in a way that is hard to pinpoint. But I guess that's a story for another day. And so when that happened, that started happening as a pattern, I said, okay, well, this isn't cool. I took some money out of our joint savings and I put it in a separate account, just my own name. And I said, hey, you're always taking my money so I can't move around. Well, I've opened a different checking account and I've put some money in it, so that any day you try to stop me from getting a taxi to go somewhere, because that's not okay. And I think that was actually one of the things so I was getting better at setting boundaries. I was getting better at protecting myself and refusing to be treated badly. Well, he got angry and more abusive. And he decided, you know what? I can't handle this lady anymore because she's setting boundaries. She's getting better. She's not submitting to my nonsense. So I want a divorce. And at that point, I was like, well, if you don't want to get better and you don't want to work on it as much as we've worked on it, then please, by all means, because I'm not having any fun either. By all means, let's do it. And that made him even more angry, because I think he thought I would be begging and crying or whatever. And I was like, no, fine. So that got him even more angry. And then the divorce process was another way. He dragged it out, didn't want it, things like that. So abusive personalities really will rarely change. Because the same people who will tell the woman, well, why didn't you just walk out, will also tell her to forgive him and go back the minute she walks out. And so this is why there's an education that's required in our culture, because you cannot double bind a survivor or a victim like that. And so one of the things I want to do is be an advocate and be a voice to tell people, you know what, if you don't know anything about abuse, if you haven't been trained, just be quiet. You can actually help a lot by being quiet. But coming out and begging people and shaming them for trying to overcome something as bad as this is not helpful. And then dismissing them when they do take agency and not providing support is not helpful either.
How long does this marriage last?
17 years.
Wow.
And then it took another 4 years to get them to finally sign the divorce papers, because an abuser will be an abuser in every process that they're in. So the divorce itself was a lot of attempts at manipulation, because I was ready to sign the very day.
So from your experience and interaction with other women, what makes leaving an abusive relationship or marriage really hard? Because some women will say that, for the sake of their children, they want to continue with the marriage.
The children are an important part of it. One thing that people don't realize about children is that when you leave, people just say, well, just take your children and leave. And then you forget that the children belong 50% to, quote unquote, belong, that's not the right word, to the abuser in the relationship. So say you have a man who's physically abusive. To give you an example, he's physically abusive. His wife wants to leave, but then she has 3 daughters. If it was like in the United States, the judge will try to give the parents 50-50 custody, right? 50% of the time they'll be with the mother, and she's the victim of abuse, and they'll be safe, right? The other 50% of the time they will be with the father, the abuser, without anybody else in the house to protect them.
Wow.
And so if you consider that dilemma, is it better for the woman to leave and expose her children to being with the abuser without any protection, or is it better for her to stay and at least protect her children part of the time? Now, of course, she's not really protecting them, because just being in the space with an abuser is traumatic and will impact the kids for life either way. But what I'm trying to show is the dilemma that the mother is in.
So it's not that easy, and
it isn't. There's no easy solution to that kind of a problem.
Now, what role does finance play in giving a woman choices?
Depending, abuse can be very contextual. So some women are not able to leave because they're financially dependent on the man.
Yeah.
However, I have worked with plenty of women who are financially successful who are being abused in that marriage. They work, they earn money, and that's the reason it's not a logical process. It's an emotional process. There is a process of trauma bonding that goes on. Perhaps even though she's financially successful, she may be worried about a situation of her daughters being abused or her sons being abused by the father. There's so many different things. Perhaps she's under pressure from the families to stay in the marriage. There's so many factors, so many variables. I could not, no matter what, you could not write a list of 20 things that will apply to every abusive situation. But yeah, so there are plenty of women who are earning money and are being abused. In fact, in their case, the shame of being professional, maybe middle class, upper middle class, even wealthy women undergoing physical abuse or emotional abuse, the shame of it may actually keep them bound more so than someone who maybe doesn't have as much of a reputation to protect. I'll give you an example. Very recently, there was a congresswoman in the United States, I think this was like just a couple of months ago, who filed for a divorce and revealed that her husband was physically abusive.
So finances play an important role in giving women choices. Is that what you want to say?
It could. It could play an important role, but I think the emotional awareness and the trauma that the individual is experiencing, has experienced in the past, plays a more important role.
In case you're just tuning in, you're listening to Splash 105.5 FM, and the program is Leading Women. We'll take a break. When we come back, I will continue my conversation with Simi Waters.
A fully furnished, nice and comfortable hostel accommodation in University of Ibadan, or a place for seminars and executive trainings at the same venue? You do not have to worry. Adebayo Akonde Hall suits your lodging needs and provides you a home away from home. Adebayo Akonde Hall is a 4-star hostel built in a serene environment with constant supply of electricity. It has fully furnished rooms that gives you great comfort at an affordable price. Adebayo Akonde Hall is located at Ajibode Extension, University of Ibadan. To make reservations, visit www.adebayohall.com or call the numbers 0805 699 8718, 0805 699 8719, 0805 699 8720. Adebayo Akonde Hall. Built for comfort. Built for you.
The Thor Lagelu FM Inter-Secondary School Relay Race 2019 coming soon. For registration, visit www.lagelufmrelayrace.com or pick up a form at Lagelu FM office, White House, Felele, Ibadan. For more inquiries, call 0805-699-8701 or 0705-439-3304. The Lagelu FM Inter-Secondary School Relay Race is for student athletes under 15. Please come with a verifiable document for each athlete. The Thor Lagelu FM Inter-Secondary School Relay Race 2019 coming soon.
àjànàkú kọjá àmórí nǹkan fìrí gbogbo ènìyàn pátá ló mọ láì rìn ó ti ń ṣe wá lóore bọ̀ lọ́jọ́ tó pẹ́ títí àkókò yìí ṣe ló tún lágbára sí i ká lè bọ́ lọ́wọ́ gẹ̀dẹ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ tí ń ṣàtọ́kùn àrùn nínú ara Yoyo Bitter kára ó fúyẹ́ kó mọ́kù kó sì tún jí pépé Yoyo Bitter ìṣẹ́po ọwọ́ ìṣẹ́po ẹsẹ̀ kó ṣiṣẹ́ tó pé nínú ara Yoyo Bitter kóúnjẹ ó lè dà lásìkò kó tó ṣiṣẹ́ tó péye nínú ara Yoyo Bitter gbégidínà kòkòrò àrùn tó lè sọ ní dọlọ́kùnrùn ní gbogbo ìgbà Yoyo Bitters náà ni kò sì lọ́tí nínú rárá kò ṣeé mà nínú Yoyo Bitters fún gbogbo ẹbí Ablat Company Nigeria Limited ló gbé jáde ó wà lólómi àti hóró jẹ́ẹ̀lì ó sì wà ní gbogbo ilé ìtajà oògùn jákèjádò Nàìjíríà Yoyo Bitters àṣírí ìlera tó péye ni.
Hi Busola. Hi. Congratulations on the birth of your baby.
So much.
How have things been?
Oh, I don't need to tell you. It has been so tough and confusing. I don't know what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong, from breastfeeding to how my body feels since I've had the baby, and frankly, even things with Olga have been. No.
I understand. Have you heard of Talk Mommy?
Talk Mommy? What is that?
Talk Mommy with Ronkegiwa Onofuwa is a community of moms, new moms and moms-to-be seeking support, information and space to, well, just chill. Now, it features games, mommy spa, and talks about sex after baby, miscarriage, getting that pre-baby body back.
I'm hooked. When is this happening?
Well, it is happening on Saturday, 31st August 2019 at number 5 Shell Close beside American Christian Academy, Jericho. For payment and inquiries, call 0704 444 7074. Supported by the Nest Montessori, Splash 105.5 FM, Dove Spa, and Zircon Initiative. Let's talk mommy.
The role of governance in aiding business growth and sustainability will be a subject of attention on Insights with Oluwaseun Omoakinola this coming Sunday. Our guest, the versatile Makonjola Ojewumi, is the Chief Development Analyst at Night Service International Limited, an author and the principal partner, Makonjola Ojewumi and Company.
Look into Sheikh Makinde now,
right,
and speak to him about this issue.
Okay. Well, our amiable governor, welcome to the hot seat. They voted you in and they want you. And so they're looking up to you in...
Concerned about issues pertaining to running a business in Ibadan, policies for economic growth in the states, or how to build your house on your current income. Then, tune in to Insights by 4 p.m. this Sunday with Oluwaseun Omoakiola on Splash FM, the Integrity Station.
All right. Common perception holds that people who end up in abusive marriages are those who ignore the flag or the signs while dating. How true is that?
Right. That's very true. There are always signs of an abusive personality, but it goes back to what I said about childhood dysfunction. Those people were also trained to ignore signs of abuse or abusive behaviors within their families of origin. So guaranteed they either had emotional neglect, maybe their parents emotionally neglected them or physically abused them, or there was sexual abuse. But in order to protect themselves, or in order to protect the family secret, the woman, oh man, there are actually men who go through this as well, you were never allowed to say, oh, daddy did something wrong. Daddy, that's not right. Mommy, that's not right. Or, So if you are trained to pretend that your parents or your uncle or your auntie who is doing the wrong thing is doing the right thing, if you trained your brain to cover up all those things in your family of origin, it's automatic that by the time you're 22, you've become really good at it. You don't even know you're doing it.
All those signs become normal, You believe that's normal.
Exactly. They believe it's normal, you just dismiss it, or you just say, oh, it's just out of character. They were just angry that day. That's not who they really are. Because you've been telling yourself, that's not who my parents really are all these years. Oh, at least my parents fed me and sent me to school, even though maybe they beat you back black and blue the whole time, So you've learned to reframe abuse, you've learned to reframe dysfunction into something normal.
Now, how has your recovery journey been? How has it been, and what can others learn from it?
I loved my recovery journey. I mean, it was the pain. There was a lot of pain in the beginning, but the pain didn't come from the recovery journey. The pain came from my life, I guess, my experience and what was going on with me. But I've gone through different kinds of recovery. I've gone through codependency recovery, which is, if you're a people pleaser. I've gone through life coaching myself. I have my own life coach, actually multiple life coaches. I've gone through programs of recovery from narcissistic abuse. If you were married to someone who had narcissistic traits, or if you came from a family with narcissistic traits, I've gone through that kind of recovery. I guess I go hard at whatever I do. And I went hard at it. Anything I could afford, I did the exercises, I did the affirmations, I went through the journals, I attended the classes, the conferences, and for me, it paid off. I decided to do the work. I was like, you know what, why should I continue living with anxiety or stress or complex PTSD? Why shouldn't I figure out how to become the very best person I can be? Why I want to figure out what I was meant to be if I didn't have all these emotional handicaps. So I went really hard at it. I love the topic now. It's like my favorite topic. I'm always carrying around some recovery book or psychology book or something. It's a passion. It's a passion for me. So I think I'm really grateful. I'm grateful to God for opening up that avenue, because actually my first recovery class was a Christian recovery class. And then I'm grateful for the recovery community, because then the ladies in my first group really became my girlfriend. They became my best friends, because beyond my divorce, I found out that a lot of the friends that I had were very selfish, self-absorbed. Some of them were toxic. I was just keeping people like that around me, hoping to fix them and help them, and not realizing that they weren't, they didn't love me as much as I made up in my mind that they loved me.
Now, what challenges?
So my new friends are in recovery themselves and really loving people.
Now, what challenges do you still face?
So the biggest challenge I'm working through in recovery now is the ability to just feel good when things are good. which is a surprising problem to have. You think that, okay, when you have money and then when you're married, when everything is great and your kids are doing well, that you'll just feel good automatically. That's actually not true. However you've been trained to feel from childhood is how you'll continue feeling even when you're successful. Yeah. So my biggest challenge now is enjoying all the good that's in my life.
Wow.
My coaching practice is doing well. Work is well, finances are good. I'm remarried to an amazing guy. And some days I just find myself, my thoughts will go to, what do I need to fix? Or where is there a problem? And I try to fix that. And so my big recovery now is focusing on the good and staying on what's good so that I can actually enjoy what I have.
Now, if you could speak to just one woman trying to leave an abusive marriage, but with so many roadblocks, what would you tell her?
The one thing I would say is you need to build up the strength on the inside of you. To survive the journey you have ahead, you need to build up the strength inside. A lot of reasons why women leave and come back is often they haven't built up that mental and emotional strength that's needed. So you have to realize that the woman plays a part in being in that abusive marriage. So the part, but she's not playing that part on purpose. Even the abuser is not playing his part on purpose. He was gone through his own childhood dysfunction that makes him an abuser. Doesn't mean we should feel sorry for him. But the woman has to realize, hey, there are some things missing in my life that caused me to get here. What are those things? I need to learn boundaries. I need to learn emotional awareness. I need to learn how to call black instead of changing it and calling it white. I need to learn how not to be confused because abuse victims are easily confused. The abuser would just come and say something and then they become confused. Did it really happen? Maybe he didn't really hit me that hard. Maybe that didn't really happen. They're very confused. They also have a lot of difficulty making decisions because they don't trust themselves. Because they found themselves in this situation, they don't even know what to do. So they go back and forth, asking everybody for opinions. All those things are a function of a lack of emotional, mental strength. It could be codependency, which is people pleasing. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. You've got to walk through those things. Now, granted, it's easier to work through those things outside of the abusive relationship. So I would always recommend, hey, just leave first and take some time and work on yourself, because then the person is not there standing over you and confusing you. But if that's not feasible, you've got to work on yourself while you're there and build up that strength to be able to leave.
Thank you so much, Simi, for your time. I've learned one or two things from this conversation. Thank you very much for speaking with me on the program.
It was my pleasure.
My
pleasure. Thank you for having me. This was I think I learned when I'm asked questions that are very thought-provoking as well, so I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that's it on today's edition of the program, Leading Women on Splash 105.5 FM. A big thank you to my production crew, which consists of Zainab Sani, not forgetting the audio engineer, Tolu. For inquiries and observation, you can send a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0805 733 5451. 0805 733 5451. My name is Toyin Adepoju. Have yourself a lovely Saturday.